Good evening and God bless you all. This is Parenting Time to Learn once again. Dr. Regine, I'm here to bring you a new topic about parenting on parenting for parents. And this evening, we're going to have a discussion, and I'm not alone. I'm going to introduce my guest. We're going to speak about the difficulties, the challenges, and also the kind of tools that we used when we are a solo parent. Those who remember on the first episode, I talked about the fact that we have to understand if we first have to ask ourselves, am I a single parent or am I a parent living alone with my children? Because if you're single as a parent, like single that you don't have someone in your life, doesn't mean that the other parent is absent from the life of the child. So we need to make sure that all that is understood. Now, we're going to talk today about being a solo parent, the challenges that we can experience as a solo parent, and especially when we are young, because many people today have children at an early age, and we are living in places where we don't necessarily have family members who can help, people who can be there. It brings people to maybe stop their studies. It brings people to stop maybe their plans, because now when you become a parent, you become responsible for another human being that you have to take care of, and that you have to be showing the way to become, the way to do in life. So I want us tonight to welcome my guest. And she is a mother, a solo parent, and who has an adolescent also to raise. So it's very interesting that we're going to have an idea of the challenges she's gone through, the things that she has experienced as a solo parent, and above all, the tools that worked, because we are here to not bring solutions, but at least bring answers, bring, I would say, tools that can help every solo parent who can actually relate and say, let me try this. Maybe it's going to work for my child as well. So, welcome with me this evening, Rebecca, our sister. So, I'm going to bring her here as well. Good evening, Rebecca. Are you here? Hold on. I'm trying to bring you up. I think my system is so slow that just forgive me if it's really taking time. But I know she's here. I'm just trying to bring her up on the screen right now. So, well, it's taking some minutes. There we are. Woo! Sometimes
There we are.
Good evening, Rebecca. How are you?
Good evening. Good evening, Dr. Regine. I'm very well, thank you. Thank you for having me. How are you?
I am blessed. I am blessed having you, and I know that we're gonna have an interesting discussion tonight.
Yeah.
Because I know you've got an adolescent, and I have late adolescents. Yeah, he just the youngest one just turned 18, so he's still in the teens. Okay, so it's gonna be interesting because, oh my God, last year was the year of I don't know, I don't know, I don't know. So have you? I don't know if you are already on the I don't know already, but we're gonna talk about that. So can you just introduce yourself a little bit to everyone who is listening right now, that we may know you a bit better, and then we can also listen to your story as a mother.
Yes. So good. Hello, everyone. So my name is Sister Rebecca. I'm a part of Rainbow Resource Centre, as most of you may know. But for those of you that don't know, I am a young solo mother. So I know that Dr. Regine touched upon the differences between being a single parent and being a solo parent. So I'm a solo parent to an adolescent, which means I have most of the responsibility for my daughters. One of them's an adolescent, and I'm also young myself. Also I'm a working mother. I have a career. I'm also involved in ministry as well, and just raising my adolescent child. So today will be a really interesting topic, and it will also give me some insight. I think oftentimes as a solo parent, we just go through the motions. But today's topic will actually allow me to hopefully reflect and share my experience, which should hopefully help some others as well. So yes, that's my introduction.
Wow, yes, indeed. So, as we said, we're going to be talking about being a solo parent to adolescents or an adolescent. So, yes, you had your daughter, the eldest one, quite young, and
Yes.
that you had dreams. You were partying, or I don't know what changed. How old were you? What changed and
Okay,
how?
so I was extremely young when I had Vijay. I was 17 years old. I shouldn't have been, I was way too young to even be in a romantic, intimate relationship. But there you go, that's life. And all things work together for good. So I found out I was pregnant and, obviously told my family, very, very shocked. And they asked me, what do you want to do now that you're pregnant? What is your decision?
Mhm.
And for me, I remember at a young age just saying, you know what? It's not the ideal circumstances, but I just feel that, life is more precious than anything else. I can make it. I'm still going to achieve my life's purpose with having a child. So I had a child. There I was, just about 17, going on 18, and yes, becoming a mother at that young age. What changed is my sense of responsibility. I know that when I was young, before you live your life for yourself, you live your life in the moment. Whatever I wanted to do, I did. But as soon as I had a child, it made me realize that, wow, I now have a response. I'm now responsible for another human being. I've got to figure life out very quickly and mature very quickly in order to give her, a good start to life.
Wow. Yes, it's true that when we are young, some young people find themselves most of the time not even having the parents supporting them. So,
Yeah.
did you get the support of your parents immediately, or I mean, brothers, I mean, everyone around you? Did you get that support?
Yes, I would say so. I mean, I come from quite a close family. Initially they weren't happy, but I made my stance very, very clear. And after making my stance very clear, my mother was definitely supportive. She was of the kind of view that, yes, it's not perfect, it's not ideal, but for her to become another grandmother is a blessing. Ultimately, despite all the circumstances, life is a blessing. Your child can have a child. To her, she quite quickly came around and saw the positive in it.
Okay.
Obviously, brothers being men and dad, not so happy at all initially. But I told them that I'm adamant that I want to make this work, that my life's going to work, and so I just need their support to kind of get through the adjustment phase from being a young person to becoming a parent.
Okay. Wow. So now your daughter is an adolescent because she's, I
Yeah.
think, 15.
Yes, she is
So
2 years away from when I had her. Scary.
I know, I know.
Scary.
So, what would you say are the challenges today?
Wow. Do you know what? I always thought that because I'm a young mother, I'd be able to maybe understand an adolescent more. I thought I'd be able to relate, and therefore putting myself in her shoes and understanding, I'd be able to parent her from a different angle. I always thought that that would be a benefit, because looking back on it with my mother, I was the last born. So my mum was maybe heading towards 40, 36, 37 when she had me. And obviously growing up in a different culture, it was very, very different. So the way she parented me, she may have found it a bit challenging, because all of a sudden she's raising a daughter in the UK, which she didn't grow up in necessarily, in a culture, in a time, in an age that she wasn't really aware of. So I always thought that would be a bonus. The fact that I'm a young mum and I grew up in, the UK like my daughter did, I'd be able to share those experiences, and then my input would be more, look, this is what I've gone through. For you, if you want this vision, if you want your life to work, these are the things that you're going to do. These are the pitfalls that you're going to have to avoid. So I always came into it thinking that that would be a bonus. But I actually realized that, number one, all children are not the same. We're also individual. So it's not about seeing things through my eyes. It's about recognizing who that individual is, and allowing my parenting technique to channel her good characteristics, where as at the same time as correcting and guiding her away from things that may be her downfall. So for me, the challenges of being a parent are a lot more than I anticipated. I mean, growing up, although I'm only 17 years older than her, we didn't have mobile phones, we didn't have social media, we didn't have all of those other influences that make parenting now so much different to even when I was growing up. So it was, for me, it was okay, let me take a break, because first of all, she just grew up. I mean, she was 1 and then 5 and then 10 and then 15. I'm like, hold on, slow down.
And growing up as well.
Yes, growing in height, growing in
Yes.
age, growing in every way, shape, and form. So
Yeah.
honestly, I was like, wow, I can't even believe that I have a 15-year-old. I see now people are like, huh? You have a 15-year-old? I'm like, yes, I do. So it's been challenging, but it's just about identifying that child, their personality
Yeah.
characteristics, and channeling that, disciplining that, pruning that, and allowing them to grow into the person I believe God has called her to be.
Exactly. Exactly. And at the same time, helping them actually to be independent,
Mm.
because that's the key. And I believe that when we have adolescents, sometimes we see the challenges that the world is presenting to us, and those things that external to our education as I would say an obstacle sometimes to even speak to our children, because they come from school telling you, well, this is what I was taught, this is what I know, this is, they spend so much time out of our homes that sometimes we become like the enemy to them, because they don't want to know that we want their very best. The school is just there to instruct them, but we want to educate them and give them the values that we believe in actually as parents. So how do you go with that? Because I know that with my children, for instance, one of them is now 21 and much more independent, but the one is still adolescent. And I've just been in that period of, I would say, a good year of what do you want to do? I don't know. What do you want to eat? I don't know. What? I don't know. Like sometimes you just have to say that, okay, we're gonna work with that. I don't know. We're gonna work with that. And you need to be reassuring with the I don't knows, because is it I don't know, I don't want to talk, or is it I don't know, I don't know? And you just have
Mm.
to
Yeah.
ensure that you get the right answer, you get the right response, and you get the patience that goes with it.
Yes.
So I don't know where do you think your daughter is right now? Is she in the place where she's trying to assert herself, or try to be in a place where I don't know, I just rely on my mom, I'm still looking up to mom, or she's trying to, shape her own identity already? What do you think, and how do you help in that as a solo parent, because she necessarily does not have another figure like who is going to bring the balance in? So I believe that I know that personally I had to kind of be a mother and a dad at some point of time for both. So
Yeah.
how do you see her growing up and having to, and how do you respond to her needs right now as an adolescent?
So I'd say, as an adolescent, her personality has remained quite consistent from a child, and her type of personality is quite headstrong, quite
Mhm.
assertive, quite I know my own, quite I know myself. So it's me having to accept that that's might be her, but
Mhm.
that assertiveness cannot be dominant. It can't be the dominant voice in the house. It can't be what she wants to do. It has to be, okay, you understand yourself, but I'm still obviously your parent who has to guide and help you to make decisions and see things that you don't necessarily see. So for her, she's definitely not that at the I don't know phase. I don't think she's ever been there, which, to be fair, I'm like, oh, I think I'd rather prefer that I don't know rather than that I know, I want this, I want this, that kind of headstrong demanding phase. But again, I guess
Mm.
it goes back to every child is their own.
Yeah,
Every adolescent is a different type of adolescent depending on their
trust
personality
me,
and
the
influences.
age is coming. It will, because I remember my other son was also in that place where he didn't really know what he wanted to do, and I didn't expect the other one to be in that place as well. And and it's just like, when a child is small, there's the time for no, no,
Yes.
yes. I think it's a necessary passage where everyone has to go through, because maybe they have an idea but they are not sure, and they actually expect you as a parent to kind of guide, but without saying I need help.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Yes.
Yes, definitely. I mean, when it comes to conversations like, okay, studying, what do you want to do? I'm not sure. I don't know. So, yes, I get that. I definitely get
Yeah.
that. I don't know. I'm not sure. But I think for me, is that okay? Don't feel the pressure to tell me now, oh, I'm going to go to uni, I'm going to study
Exactly.
this, I'm going to get a job, and I'm going to do this. And in 10 years' time, no. So, it's about, okay, so rephrasing the question, what do you
That
enjoy doing? when you're at
That's it.
school or when you're at home, what could you do for hours a day without it being a burden? And then me naturally observing, oh, I've observed that you like to do this. I've observed that you're creative. How do you feel about doing more of this? And these are the type of jobs and things that you could do that would allow you to do what you seem to be good at all the time. So yeah, definitely from that perspective, she definitely is like, oh, I'm not quite
Yes.
sure.
I
So
think
yeah.
you just gave the right tool, because that's actually what I've done with my children as well. I remember with the one who is 21-year-old and the one who is 18, who just turned 18, we did the same thing when last year was I don't know, just to bring back something to an idea that is so broad in their mind to something that is
Mm.
more specific. It was like, let's start with what you like. What is your passion? Do you like this? Do you like that? Even sometimes it was, I don't know, I'm not sure. I'm like, oh my God, where are we gonna get I don't know, but it's interesting because when you give them more, perspectives based on their passions and choices, desires, they would not that they don't actually know that what they like already is a way. It's actually what they have to be looking at to determine their future. So it's actually really good to bring a child to see what they like first, not what the parents like. It's not because you like dancing that your child necessarily like dancing, and then you want to force them to go into dancing because you think dancing is cool and everyone can dance. No, everyone cannot dance. Everyone can write. Everyone cannot sing. Everyone cannot do everything that you know how to do. So now, how do you respond in normally a family is two. We're talking
Mm.
about solo parents. A family is two. I know that with my children, when they were younger, because they are boys, I used to play football with them because they didn't have the dad to take them to play football. Well, you've got a daughter. Maybe it's easier because a daughter and mother, there can be complicity there. There can be a lot of, communication as well. You don't need to go through some kind of things, because I remember with my boys when they were growing, I was really wondering how am I going to answer some questions that only a man can answer. But it was good that they had a big brother who was there, be around them, who can, be there discussing, because I'm sure that there are things they don't want to discuss necessarily with mother. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Uh,
Yeah.
the fact that it's a girl, it makes it easy. But if she has questions that you will think this would be good to ask dad, what would you do?
Wow. Well, although I'm a solo parent, I've going back to your first question about the support from family. I've got four brothers,
Oh,
and one of them is a father, and he has two adolescents. So
okay.
I guess they have played an active role in her life, especially because they know, don't live with her biological father. We're not in a relationship, and I'm not yet married. She's never had a male live in the home, so they're definitely availed themselves to be there to give her guidance or more just tell her. So I know that one of my brothers always says to her when she was growing up, reassuring her about her physical identity, always used to say, you're very intelligent, you're a pretty girl, you're a princess, you're beautiful, and trying to affirm all those things that I guess may hear or that their fathers may want to tell them when they're young, to really give them a grounding of self-confidence and self-belief, so that when they're older, they're not trying to get the attention from a man that they never got when they were younger. So although I have daughters, and although I have a adolescent daughter, it made some parts easier, but I was always aware that, maybe her friends would on Father's Day or be in
Mm.
the home, say, oh, mum, my friends, her dad, they go out, they do this, they do that. So there were times where I felt a little bit helpless, like, wow, what can I do? I can't turn myself into your dad. I can be there as a support and try to do the work of two.
Mhm.
So there were times where even uncle stepping in wasn't the same, wasn't enough. But it's just about trying to be real, I guess, and just saying, you know what, I know that your dad's absent, he's not present, but you're still loved. We still have a family. And ultimately, I will try to be there as much as I can to answer the questions that you may have, or don't try to come to me when you do feel a little bit embarrassed or upset, or when there are times that you feel the lack or the loss of a parent in her life. So just having those conversations, that's my way of dealing with it, because sometimes I didn't know what can I say, what can I do other than just accept and listen. Just listen to what she's saying, listen to how she's feeling, and then just try to encourage her and try to just comfort her in that.
I think yes, that's actually something good, because some parents have this habit of making sure that they actually trying to take the whole space. It's not about taking the whole space. It's about being there, and that's what I understand in what you're saying, is being there, not because you are trying to cover up on the lack that the child might have, and then you become overwhelming, overprotective. You do it even much more than if the child would have to, and that will lead many children to actually start having conflicts with the parents. Because when a parent is trying, because it's like sometimes some parents feel guilty that, oh, okay, I had a child with someone, but now I'm solo with the child. So what they do in trying to compensate, you cannot compensate to another man. However, you are doing good, and I think I did good as well, bringing in the brother when they need it, because they are young men. Bringing someone who can be a father figure at the time of need, but they still understand that this is not a father. You are not a father, but you are just going to be there to answer, but not try to cover up so that the child. First of all, we cannot cover up an absence. We cannot cover up a missing person. We cannot cover up the fact that the father or the mother is not there. All we can do as human beings is to be there for the person when they need us. That's all. And I believe that this is a great mistake that many people have done. Many solo parents have done, especially mothers. They become overprotective. I've seen that with the man as well. Overprotective of the child in a way that there are a lot of conflicts. And when you create a communication between you and the child, and telling them the truth, telling them the facts, telling them what it is, their life is, you see, which is different. Like when you just said that, okay, well, it's parents' evening or it's dad's day, and you don't have the dad who's going to accompany you, but having that conversation would make the child not to look at themselves as, well, there is a problem. Just being real, being truthful, and telling the child that, this is how your life is. We need to teach the children to love their life the way it is, instead of looking at the needs and looking at what everyone else is doing that they don't have. And this is some advice that I would say to parents right here who are solo. Stop overwhelming your child by trying to be present, omnipresent, and trying to cover up that because the other one is not there. You can do two roles. Your two roles is actually just to nurture the child, feed them, and provide a roof. But when it comes to their personality and everything else, allow them to live. You cannot you cannot try and occupy two seats. No. You see, there's the seat of the dad and the seat of the mother. Sit on your seat, remain on your seat, allow the child to know that the other parent is not there, but the seat is absent. Sorry, the seat is empty because that parent is absent. But you do your part. You do your part and do as much as you can so that the child does not feel the absence of the dad. So now, you also have another child who is going to be an adolescent. But the fact is, as you mentioned earlier, the times are changing. The times are also going to change within 5 years. Things are changing so much now. Do you think that the adolescent that you have prepared will be in the right place to bring the other one up because maybe you won't have enough time? Or how do you prepare your adolescent to be responsible? I think we have lost connection, but we got it. Yes, you're back.
Sorry, I'm back. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you
Sorry,
well.
I don't know what happened.
Yes. Okay. My question was, how do you prepare your adolescent to be responsible in everything, responsible for herself, responsible for her little sister, and responsible also that she would not maybe go the way you went? How do you prepare her?
Well, the latter part of the question in terms of not going the way I went, it gets back to the question you asked previously. When it comes to things like Father's Day or Parents' Evening, or it comes to things where we're in the house and she sees that there's the absence of a father. You know, I don't want to torment her with the truth, but the reality is I am living the consequences of a decision that I made.
Yes.
You know, so it's about accountability, is that, you know what, you can make a decision, or she's not a bad decision, but there's things that you do in life that the consequences will appear every day and later on the line. So it's about her recognizing, as a young adolescent herself, does she want to live? Does she want to, you know, be in my shoes? Can she seeing me, you know, go to work, do this, spread myself? Is that type of future that she wants for herself? Or would she like to do things a different route and give her child the ability to live in a two-parent home where, you know, people are married? And especially with her growing up, seeing that I've really lent on the Lord to be my strength and to be, just be my strength to do all the things I do. I'm really hoping that all of that will lead to her being able to make a better decision than I did at a young age.
What do you mean you don't have discussions? You are allowing her to just observe you and see, or do you have proper discussions?
Well, yeah, I have proper discussions as well, where I will draw in different experiences, different situations to have that discussion, you know, with her. Definitely. Yeah. So I definitely have discussions now that she's getting older. We have to, as a responsible, there's a part of me that wants to see her and see my 10-year-old innocent child that's not growing up. But the reality is she's quickly developing into, you know, she's an adolescent developing into a young lady. So I feel like it'd be immature and irresponsible of me not to have those direct conversations. However, her living it and seeing it helps her to really think, okay, this is the consequence to my actions. I've had to live this from the side of a child. Do I want to live this from the side of a lone parent or a solo parent or a young? Is that the decision that I want for myself? So it's about having direct conversations and being allowing her to see, you know, that as lovely as she is, as lovely as our children, all things work together for good. I would never take it back. I think it's helped me to be very responsible in my life. But, you know, there's ways to become a responsible person.
That's it. But that's the reason why I believe it's important to really speak, because sometimes parents don't speak to their children about their own mistakes.
Yeah.
Parents don't tell the children, I made a decision, and be honest with them that it was not a mistake because you are here. However, what I'm trying to say is that what brought me here was not necessarily a good way. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
Even
circumstances
ended up well, so I don't want you to take the same route. That's actually what I was talking about when I talk about mistake. And it can go with different other mistakes that we do in life, except for having children early or whatever, or out of marriage, relationships. But what I'm trying to say here is that some parents are still, even though they are Christians, they are still allowing those things to happen as if it's normal, instead of telling the child, don't do what what I did. I did it because I didn't know what to do right at that time. But now that I know, the least I can do is to tell you so that you don't follow my steps, so that you can have another story, you can have another route, you can do things differently. So I believe that it is something that many solo parents don't do enough. Of course, we enjoy having our children and we enjoy the life that we are giving them or how we are preparing them for the future. However, it's also our responsibility as solo parents to tell them, okay, this could have been a mistake or an error, not necessarily a mistake, or this is not necessarily a path to take. And I believe that this is something we need to stress here as well, that there's always a better route. And that is actually what we're trying to do when we educate them, isn't it? So that they don't take the same route.
Yeah.
Especially today, very different. Things are different, the friends that they have, and we mentioned the use of social media and everything. Well, by the way, you've got a solo adolescent. What do you do? Do you punish at night? Not phone? What do you do? What do you do? No phone?
Yeah,
no...
In terms...
Hello? I think we have lost connection with you. Are you here? Hello. Okay, while waiting for her, I'm going to come here and just explain a little bit how I am working with my children. I worked because now they are very old adolescents. So what I used to do is simple. They were not allowed to have the phone only when they went out, something like that, and when they are coming back home. For instance, when eating, I would not allow them to have the phones, but now they are so old that I just leave it. But even now, when we are coming together, I don't allow them to have the phone every time in front of, you know, a child is trying to talk to you and they have their phone with them. That's not right. Let them put the phone away. Let them come in a place where, you know, even myself, when my child comes to talk to me, what I do, I put my phone away at that moment just to have that eye contact. It's very important because some parents don't take enough time with their children these days, especially the adolescents are watching us. They are looking at what we are doing. So when you are a solo parent, what happens is that your child, you are a reference for your child. You are representing the mother and the father at the same time to that child. So what you are showing them is what they tend to actually kind of reproduce. So we have to be those people who understand and know that our examples would play a role. The things that we are modeling, the things that we are showing to our children are important. If you don't want your child to speak to you with a phone, don't bring a phone when you're speaking to them. If you don't want your child to sit on the table with the phone near them as the fork is going there, the eyes are there, they don't even look at the food, and then you're shouting at them, my friend, check that you're not doing the same thing. And I believe that that is something that parents, especially solo parents, the problem with solo parents is that because we work and we have so many different things we do at the same time, that we tend to allow the child to do whatever they want with their phones. My friend, why don't you buy books? There are so many other things you can allow your child to do than just putting them on the phone or a tablet. My children, I used to send them outside and play. Or there was a time that I used to buy, I would put a lot of mats on the floor to bring them to design whatever they wanted. Do some artwork if you don't want to read, but no phone. And the way they grew up knowing that, and is really at the late age that I think from year 9 that I started allowing them to go out with their phones. Otherwise, at night, phone has to be in the living room. And there were also the time at the when they were around 10, 11, 13. One day like this, randomly, phone check. Open your phone, give it to mom, go through. It's important. It is important. We cannot just give them all the things that we want and not check because, well, while you're not checking, you don't know what they're doing at the back. You don't know what they're doing, and then you can be surprised. So, what would you answer to that? With this social media thing and all these things, how do you have a parent control or an eye on it?
Yeah, honestly, I think the first thing to do is to be as aware as your child is about social media. I think for a time I wasn't as engaged, knowing all these different apps, knowing the usages, knowing how they work. So I think the first thing a parent should do is know how these things work.
Yes.
So you can measure the access level the child has to information on these varying apps. So you can make a decision and discuss with your child whether it's appropriate for them to even have those apps installed. So for me, that was one of the things I had to understand how Snapchat works. For me, I don't have Snapchat, but understanding how that works, understanding how I do have an Instagram now, but then, you know, understanding how it worked, understanding about posting pictures privately, publicly, all these different things. So I could actually enter into a conversation and give her some context as to what she's doing, because just because you can have a phone and every app doesn't mean that it's necessary, doesn't mean that it's something that she should have. So getting a phone, discussing the apps, what they're going to be used for, doing random checks, yes, and having the phone with me by 9 o'clock, and on the weekends making sure doing things as a family, or you know, if she wanted to go out with a friend, for example, and I've spoken to the parent and we've agreed, then, you know, going out, doing different things, not just being addicted to the phone, because there was a time when everything was the phone, watching TV on the phone, watching this on the phone. And I'm like, this phone is an addiction. if something was to happen and a phone, no phone would work, I don't think adolescents would survive for a week without the phone. So there was a bit of a challenge where it was too much, but it's, just having a conversation and saying, you know what, when I was young, no phones, but I had a good time. We went out to play, as sister was saying, we read books, just did things to stimulate our mind. So for me, it's about the conversation, it's about being a responsibility and trust. So if the phone wasn't in my room by 9 o'clock, the next day, straight after school, the phone would come into my room. Because if you can't manage your time with the phone, then clearly, you shouldn't have it. So it's about giving the freedom to have it, but also setting a time that by 9 o'clock, there's no reason that a child of 15 should have their phone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Sleeping off, they won't finish the homework, they won't be on time in school, and then parents understand that they are actually the cause. They are the cause behind whatever the child is doing, because we are responsible for them. We are the one educating them, not the contrary. So what do you think about those children that we have in our homes who kind of adolescents who kind of have it all, really, especially
So when
in
you say,
they have it all. They are the bosses at home. The parents have given them the solo parent has given them all. I would say I'm sure that, for instance, your daughter, the eldest one, is taking care of the youngest one when you can and things like that, which is fine. But what is it when we kind of give them all the leeway? Like you're making that person to be like that, your sister, in fact, you see, who can replace you, help you, and then one day when you speak, they answer you back. You're like, oh, did I get that right, or what? I think it was a fly. It wasn't.
But this is very interesting, because I learned this lesson. I think I went through it where, I have an elder daughter who helps take my younger one to school and, just do certain things. So there came a time where the balance, I think it was imbalanced. Because I was working, because of my workload, I gave my daughter too much responsibility for the younger one. And like you said, the problem with that is it looks fine in the beginning, but when you give a child the responsibility, older than they are, or you give them the responsibility like a co-parent over their younger sibling, when you tell them something, they rise up. They rise up and they start talking to you like they're a co-parent. Exactly. So I had to realize, okay, no. Just because I have 2 children and I'm a solo parent doesn't mean that I have the right to burden my elder one with responsibilities over the younger one. That's my choice, my business. So I have to sort out my time, organize my time so that I can be a parent and she can be a big sister and have big sister duties only. So I definitely went through that. I definitely think that sometimes, unfortunately, it's easy to try and make the elder child's give them a burden that's not theirs to carry, because they were born, because they were born into circumstances where they have a lone parent and another sibling. So I think that was definitely a mistake and a lesson that I learned, until I had to sit down and really say, you know what, she has to know she's a big sister. She has to know that I'm the mother. Exactly. Because there came a time where she then began to start disciplining her younger sister. There's a difference between telling your sister, don't do this, don't do that. But it became like she was telling her off. Even one time to smack her, I was like, whoa. Okay.
What have I done?
I was like, whoa. Yeah, I was like, okay, now this is too much. So, but I couldn't, in the beginning, of course, I corrected her, but I couldn't chastise her so much, because I realized, hold on, it's me. Don't give her so much responsibility. Don't tell her to do it in the home. Let her tidy her room. But she can't be tidying her room and tidying her little sister's area and, doing all the things that I need to be doing as a parent. So when I regained that balance, then I saw that, and having a discussion with her, I then saw that, yes, she realized, okay, mum is the mum.
That's it.
I'm the older sister. I am an adolescent, but there's still a level of definitely respect and obedience and, yes, just honor that I have to give my mum in the home. But But for me, that honor had to come with me accepting that I'm a solo parent of 2 children and not trying to get her to help me as a parent. She's not a parent. She's still a child.
That's it. That's it. You summed it up so well, because many parents don't even see that they are doing that. For them, it's normal. It's normal for you to do this. It's normal. It's normal. But the thing is that you are really making that child to be co-parenting with you. That is the reason why. Well, if we are co-parenting, I can speak the way I can do what I want.
Yes.
And then children, in the end, one day you'll be like, I go out if I want to now. Huh? And then conflict starts. You're in my house, but you forget that you have given them too much power. You have made them co-parent, but you didn't see, just like you explained very well, you did not see it in the beginning. You didn't see it when it happened. It just when you started seeing some reactions that you understood that, oh, whoa, she's my daughter, not a co-parent. So I believe that this is important to mention, because many parents are going through that right now. Many parents are going through it and they don't know that they have caused it. And that is why we are here, parenting time to learn. It's actually for us to see where we are going wrong, the things we are doing that we can correct with humility. Because I think you have to be humbling yourself to admit that you did something wrong, or you made a decision that did not actually benefit your household. So it's a lot of humility. We all make a lot of mistakes. I remember the things that I used to do with my children, and then I have to correct them, saying, no, it's not working. For instance, my children, there was a time I said they need to clean. Okay, they're still cleaning the dish, but now they are adolescent. Everyone cleans their space. That's normal. They have some things that they clean in the house as well. But I cannot give the burden to one to look at what the other one is doing. That is giving them too much power over the brother or over the sister. It's actually, if you are looking at this, it's just to not just to supervise, not to actually give an order. So we need to put everything back into the right context. Amen. So one more question. Now, sorry, as a solo parent with adolescent, with this world, in the context of this world, what do you teach your daughter about the future?
Wow. Well, I always say, look, there is hope for a good future.
Yeah.
No matter the challenges that you have at school, no matter everything, just remember that I'm always here for you to talk to, number one, and just know that I will always have your best interest at heart. Sometimes it doesn't always look like it immediately, but when I'm trying to pour out to you wisdom from my experience and I'm trying to raise you, always remember that my voice brought you to 15 years old, healthy, well, doing well at school, is that voice that if you follow will be able to guide you into adulthood, adult life that is successful. So I always give her a message of hope, definitely hope, and just say, you know what, you can do it. I believe that you were put on this earth for a divine purpose, and I want to see that being fulfilled in you, in her. So just definitely hope, but also just telling her and being realistic with her, telling her the pitfalls, the personal experiences that I've gone through, and also asking her questions, evaluate her thinking, asking her questions to understand what her genuine perception of life is when it comes to things like friends, influences, boys. They teach her RS, religion. We have that discussion. She knows she comes from a Christian home, a Christian household, but it's about asking her questions about her own convictions, just understanding her, that she is coming to a place where she's a young lady. She's an adolescent, but coming into a young lady, forming her own opinions. So understanding her, as a person, and then using that to guide her. And to teach her the way that she should go. The word of God says, teach a child the way they should go and they won't depart from it. So all of these things, I think the fundamentals, and just learning as a parent. For me, there was a time where I was trying to mold a child into, being the person that I want to, the personality trait that I wanted to. But there came a point where I know my role as a parent is not to be controlling, like you said, over their personality, but just to definitely guide them so that all the positive parts of them can grow, and all the things that will stop them from being functional members of society, it is my job to make sure that those things don't grow, and that I definitely nip those things in the bud to make sure that she's a young woman that I can be proud of, and that she can say, you know what, despite my mum being a solo parent and a young parent at that, you know, she did a good job. So that's what I always try to tell her every day.
That's it. Actually portraying a role model all the time.
Yeah.
That's what was to do. Portray a role model instead of being overwhelming or instead of burdening the child, controlling the child too much, giving them too much independence. So I think that it sums up very well what we should do as solo parents, because we are not here. Some parents end up using their child as a property. Their private property. So they will even make the child not to be in contact with the other parent. I'm talking in situations where, for instance, there's no problem. That is not necessarily bad. Is every separation does not end badly.
Yeah.
But some parents would make sure that, because they don't want the input of the other parent into the matter, except for the money of the other parent, which is too bad. Because in the end, being a solo parent does not mean that we have the exclusivity of the education of the child.
Yeah.
And one thing I know is that every child at some point of time in their lives, when they really feel the need, if they really feel the need, they will stand up and go and look for that other parent. So you don't want to be that person who has made sure that they don't meet, and then one day they come and tell you that they've been meeting secretly. So,
Yeah.
So do you sometimes speak about the parents or what happened, the other parent?
Yes. So for young, I've not had a problem with the father of my adolescent in terms of that. It was just young, and when you're young, I didn't have the things that it took to understand what it is that I need in a life partner. But despite that, I think there was no bitterness. There's no bitterness from me in terms of not being in a relationship with that person. So I always encourage where I can to just, have your father in your life, talk to him, call him and give him the availability and the access. Not even give him, because it's not something that I need to give in terms of, I'm not trying to control that situation, but just be supportive of any steps that she wants to take to engage with her father. I always encourage and support that, but I don't force things in the same way. Because I think sometimes some women want to force, you have to do this, you have to do that. I've just had the peace in the situation, the peace enough to know that if she wants to have that relationship, I'll encourage it and I support her. If she wants to talk to me about things, I will encourage her and support her. In times where she hasn't been as interested and forthcoming in a relationship with her father, I will always want to speak to her to understand where is it coming from. And I always want to make sure that she always knows that I'm happy and supportive. By her going to engage with her father, it's not a betrayal to me. It's not war. We're not at war. I want her to be a well-rounded individual and experience the love and the support, and knowing where she comes from, knowing her different heritage as well, because her father's not of the same nationality as I am. So that's a whole, another culture that she has to learn. So I think it's about being supportive in whatever she wants to do. Yeah.
And if I would just add something to what you said, to every parent who is solo, remember that the child was not in your problem.
Yeah.
Whatever separated you, the child was not in your problem. So allow the child to exist with both of you. No matter how it ended, no matter what problem it was, even if it was war, the child, what does the child have to do with that? They did not ask to come. You decided that they will come.
Exactly.
But now that you are deciding to separate or something, be responsible. Be responsible. Being responsible means accepting the existence of the other whenever it's possible. Of course, I agree that if it's really too bad or detrimental to the child, there's no point. But if it's not, if there's possibility for a build-up of the child, it's better to keep it. So thank you so much for answering our questions, and I think we are really blessed with your experience. So we can only pray that your adolescent and the adolescent to be will grow in the knowledge of the Lord, will grow to become beautiful young women who will actually be able to give back what you've given them as women, as young women, and also become role models, because I believe that that's what you portray the most to your daughters, and exactly that's what we need to do. I know that as the mother of boys, it was not very easy for me in that sense, because adolescents need a male figure, and it was something that, but I was always at the back of my mind, and all I tried to do is really get closer to their dad so that they can have that role model and see, and also see the brothers, see people around, see the uncles, see this. So it was not a way to compensate the solo parenting. It was just a way for them to have a larger view of what life is, because you cannot educate your child in a bubble. It's impossible. Even if you think that the whole world is against you because you are having problem with their father or their mother, you cannot make them believe that the world is solo. Otherwise, when you're doing that, all you're going to do as a parent is to actually to lead them outside to go and search answers for themselves, and that is too bad. That is really, really bad, because then they can swallow whatever they get, they can fall into bad relationships, they can actually start looking for a role model in a man or a woman that they meet, that they love, or who tell them they love them. So we have to be very sorry, I really need some water here. I didn't prepare. So we can be those people who can prepare them so that they can be balanced. It's about being balanced in life. If you want to give a child that balance, you make sure that you don't limit them or put them in a box in your bubble, because the bubble that you created for yourself, your child is not meant to be in that bubble. It is for you. You created a bubble you want to be in. Let the child be like an eagle that flies. So in that, we're going to say thank you. And we have you another time, maybe next year or this year, sometimes back. It was really good having you. Thank you so much. And have a blessed evening. And everyone else, let me just continue a bit more here. Thank you for being with us. And I believe that, and I hope you were really blessed hearing this, especially if you're a solo parent. Please send us your comments, send us your questions, inbox, and we're going to answer. And if there are things that you want us to speak about regarding parenting, things to learn, things that you are asking yourself questions about, as I say all the time, I am Dr. Regine. I am not someone pretending to know everything. No, I am trying to come here with my experience as a mother, and also as a pastor, and also as an education specialist, because I'm working with families, and I've seen a lot of things happening in families, and those children I'm working with are mostly adolescents. And when sometimes I've seen that most problems that the children have is because of the parents. That is the reason why I'm offering this show, this program, that we can learn because of the things that I've observed, and also we'll be bringing guests to change to have an exchange, to have a communication, and to hear from different people, have different perspectives as well, and come together once again, offering you more programs. So I hope that you are blessed with today's program, and until next month, end of the month, the last Monday of the month at 8 p.m. Stay blessed in Jesus' name.